Hi, I'm Anqoinette Crosby here at the Eaton Hotel on K Street in downtown DC. Now we're actually in the rooftop bar. This is a great spot to come hang out, have a drink, and listen to some phenomenal music.
This innovative hotel takes a radical approach to food, wellness, and arts. We'll talk about its unique features when we return.
But first, welcome to Artico, art in your community. In Camelot, King Arthur is dead, and with him, peace in the three realms. In Britannia, a dangerous necromancer threatens. So, what do? Well, you get on your computer, of course, and let the games begin.
Jim Crawley is an artist at Broadsword Online Games in Herndon, Virginia. His company created two of the longest-running and most successful MMOs, also known as massively multiplayer online role-playing games. These are video games where a lot of people play at once. Jim gave us the scoop on how he combines work with play in the world of online games.
Here at Broadsword, I make the assets for the games. I will start out with a rough sketch that I will show the designer and the producer. We go back and forth on how we feel it should look. Quite often they defer to me. After that, the next step is to actually put it into an engine called 3D Studio Max, where I build the model kind of like when you build something out of clay, except it's within a computer environment. Once that is done, we then put a skin on it that we literally unwrap and lay flat. And once it's laid flat, we start putting a texture down on it in Photoshop. Once that is done, we then put that texture on the model. We then proceed to do what's called rigging. Rigging is the process of literally putting bones within the model that we've made. We then start to animate it. We then do a full team review of it, and if everyone's happy with it, we put it into the game, and the next production cycle that we set out for the players, it is put in. Gaming has come a long way. The original era of Mario Brothers and the 2D style jump pixel flat design is very similar to the primary project that I work on. It is a classic style which a lot of people call retro games right now. I've been classically trained in everything from photography to sculpture. I even did blacksmithing. So for me, when I start to create something within these 3D engines, I already know what it's supposed to look like and the weight of it, you know, and how it should affect the world and the players and everything else. So while I was not trained in the computer side of it, I'm classically trained in the others and picked up what I needed to know just as I went along. To me, it's kind of surprising because I had started out wanting to do special effects in movies. And once I started doing the computer art side of it, I realized it had everything I had wanted to do. It had the creativity, it had the creation of. I got to put it out there to the people and entertain them, scare them, make them happy. So yeah, while it was not my first choice, it is a choice I've been very happy to do. I don't want to be cocky or anything, but the fact that we have Ultima Online, which was one of the original MMOs, I personally feel is one of our top titles and one of the things to be proudest of here. We also have a lot of the other classics that people know fairly well, like Dark Age of Camelot, and we keep them going. The most creative part of my job is when the designer or the producer come to me and even they don't know what they want. Sitting down and coming up with sketches of different blade designs and trying to figure out what would catch the player's eye is probably the most enjoyable and creative aspect, whether it's an item, a piece of clothing. Creatures are a personal favorite of mine, especially gory creatures. but when they don't know what they want and I'm allowed to have free reign, that's when I enjoy it the most. Some of the projects that I'm most proud of, I would honestly have to say the very first one that I started with, Civilization 2. It's by a gentleman named Sid Meier's, who is just a icon as far as I'm concerned in the industry. Star Wars: The Old Republic, a lot of people really enjoyed that, and it was fun. I was actually what's called a visual effects artist on that one. My current one, I'm very proud of, Ultima Online. When they first asked me to work on it, I was shocked and excited all at the same time that there was such a rich background to Ultima Online and the players and the community. For someone that wants to get into this field, I would definitely suggest having an actual website with your work that someone can pull up, that we can email around the office, that even if for our own personal company you may not be a right fit, a lot of us know a lot of connections, and if we see someone that impresses us, we will forward them and mention it to the person that sent it, like, you are not a good fit for here, but you have, let's say, a classic Disney style to your artwork, and my friend at this company is looking for that. Would you be interested to have me forward that on? So having a quality portfolio online can make all the difference in the world. What I like most about my job, to be honest, it's the creativity side of it. The fact that I can earn a living that I can support my family with on something that I genuinely love, I feel incredibly blessed.
The Eaton is more than just a hotel. Besides the usual amenities, it has a 50-person theater, a rooftop stage, and a photography studio with equipment you can rent.
We are here with Katherine Lo, who is the president and the founder of Eaton. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So what made you decide to create such an edgy, hip hotel in DC?
My vision for Eaton was to use the platform of a hotel and channel it as resources for activists and artists, especially local grassroots ones. And so because our mission is to make the world a better place, what better place to start than in DC, where over the years so many movements have come together to make the world better.
Absolutely, and so there is obviously this marriage of architecture and the arts and activism. How did you do that? How did you make that happen all under one roof?
My personal background is in the arts, film, and activism. So I really saw a hotel as a potential gathering space and community center that could bring together the local and the global under one roof. And the hotel is the perfect place to have design, architecture, food, drink, music, art, political activism, and really combine it all under one roof.
Okay, so for folks that haven't yet discovered Eaton, where are we? Exactly where in downtown?
So we're at 12th and K Street. We're a block from the Washington Post and a few blocks from the White House. But we at Eaton always joke that we're trying to bring the spirit of U Street, so it's where U Street meets K Street.
Good, very good. And so what are some of the cool things that people will see once they come into the lobby area?
I think the first exciting thing and my personal favorite place is Eaton Radio. So right next to the main entrance we have a radio station where we will be programming a lot of local DJs, musicians, and talk radio. Now where we're sitting is Wild Days, our rooftop bar / music venue, and here we plan to have a very exciting lineup of musicians. For our grand opening we had Questlove play here. And it was really amazing.
And so you're going to have other musicians of that caliber, I'm sure, coming through.
Not all the time, but we plan to use it as a resource and a venue to highlight local talent, emerging musicians, as well as occasionally bring in bigger names from out of town.
Okay, so what is the bigger vision for this? And, you know, like you said, art is so important.
We really believe in art as a way to make the world better, but also art for art's sake. So inside this hotel we have half a series of rotating art exhibitions and then half permanent collection. And when you walk through you'll see some amazing commissions. Where we are now, Wild Days, we worked with a local artist, Zoe Charlton, and she did this mosaic on the wall which is actually a statement on colonialism, feminism, gender, and independence, and it's inspired by Liberia. In our cocktail bar allegory, we commissioned a piece from Eric Thorne Sandberg, and it's Alice in Wonderland through the eyes of Ruby Bridges, who was the first African-American girl to enter school post-segregation. So it's really powerful. In our library, we have a ceiling of wheat-pasted posters by local street artist J.D. Deerdorf. And he actually held a pizza party and had, in exchange for a slice of pizza, people brought in actual flyers from concerts over the years, and so he covered our ceiling in those flyers.
And you've also taken great care in the naming of your conference rooms. Talk about that as well.
Our biggest conference room is named after Beverly Snow, who was a local, one of the first, I think, black entrepreneurs who had his own bar and restaurant, but at the time it incited all these riots, and so we wanted to honor him, given that we are a space of hospitality that's also aiming to be an inclusive space.
So something else, as if that's not enough, Eaton House, what is that all about?
I think what will keep its heartbeat alive is the having locals come here every day. And so we started Eaton House, which is a workspace members club, open to all DC people that want to come become members and work there, collaborate there. So have a co-working space as a place to build community. We have a radio station, a cinema, and a lot of pop-up art exhibitions. I encourage local DC artists and musicians to contact us about screening or exhibiting or collaborating in some way.
Okay. Do you have
We'd love
a
to hear
website?
from them. Yes, it's EatonWorkshop.com.
So now I've moved into Allegory Bar, and this space has a very cool speakeasy vibe, and it has a whimsical mural complete with Ruby Bridges. Okay, on to our next story. In 1995, Joe's Movement Emporium has kept it moving with high-quality arts programs.
You'll find it in Mount Rainier, part of the Gateway Arts District in Prince George's County. It serves more than 70,000 guests a year. Now, there's a good reason many artists call Joe's home. It's where they can find affordable rehearsal and performance space.
Joe's Movement Emporium was founded in 1995 by two young choreographers who were looking for affordable rehearsal space. So they found a storefront in Mount Rainier, Maryland, right around the corner from where we are right now, and they started renting it. That one little storefront grew into 3 storefronts. And what happened is they did more than just host artists for rehearsals and small performances. The community came to them and said, you know what, we need aftercare for our children. So Club Joe's was born. They needed summer camp. Camp Joe's was born. We had teens coming to us looking for jobs. So our Creative Works workforce training program was born. And all of Joe's programs are really an organic response to what the community has said they need. Joe's Movement Emporium has been called the living room of the community. So when you look around here at any time on any given day, you'll see various artists and artist groups. You'll see young people learning and training. You'll see kids playing, creating, dancing. It's a space where people come and they feel at home and they feel comfortable.
Joe's Movement Emporium is such a special place and community. My relationship with this community started 2 years ago. I did a performance here as a part of Next Look Artist Residency through University of Maryland. And we created 22nd century where everything worked out just fine. So that was the concept of the immersive performance. And the community here, the crew, everybody was just so incredibly supportive.
You will consistently find in the DMV area, performing artists, especially dancers, are in need of affordable rehearsal space to create their new work and to, practice and perform.
Tonight is about community decompression. This is a kind of an intense, stressful time that we live in, and I wanted to create a space that anybody can come. I will demo some augmented reality platform for to allow people to use simple movement to create music.
There's a real hunger out there for arts education, creative training, and performances that reflect the incredibly diverse cultures that are in this area and the entire world.
I'm in the Eaton Radical Library, and behind me is a media installation. OSCELYN Anderson is a mixed media artist who loves to crochet hats, handbags, sweaters, you name it. Now, several years ago, she got hooked on it, and if you can believe this, she even crocheted her wedding dress.
It took me about 3 weeks to make it. I waited until, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks before the wedding before I decided that I should make my own wedding dress out of yarn, and that's what I did. I started crocheting as a young child. I don't remember exactly when, I don't know who taught me. I'm going to say that I was self-taught, but I picked it up again about 4 years ago and have just been off to the races ever since then. But for crocheting, you use one hook, a single hook at a time, and you're using one hand versus when you're knitting, you use 2 needles at the same time, and it's both hands are operating the appliance at the same time. You get different textures, you get different stitches with knitting than you do with crocheting. You can do all types of stitches. You have single stitches, you have double stitches, you have front post, back post. There's tons of different stitches that you can do when you crochet. Knitting, on the other hand, you have a knit stitch and a purl stitch. That's basically it. I can make almost anything that I want. I love making clothes. I love making wearable, any type of wearable art. It's fun. I love working with the different fibers. I love the different hooks. I just really enjoy it. When I first started crocheting, acrylic was my go-to yarn because it was inexpensive and it was readily available. Since then, I've become a little bit more particular about the fibers that I use, and I now like to use wool, like 100% wool yarn. This is just a basic one that you can get right out of the stores. I like the llama wool. I use alpaca. It all has like a different feel, different projects. I use different fibers. For example, if I'm making a blanket, I will tend to use an acrylic yarn for me because you use a lot of it and it's relatively inexpensive. To make a top or something similar to what I'm wearing, I would use a really thin yarn, maybe out of a merino wool, because the fibers are thinner. It's nicer on your skin when you're wearing it, and you have tons of color selections to choose from. One of my most favorite pieces is a sweater jacket that I made not too long ago, and everybody who sees it just falls in love with it. So here's this, it's small, it's like a coat of many colors, and I even put a zipper in it, which is really fun. One of the other things that I really enjoy doing is working with polymer clay. Polymer clay is a man-made molding material that cures in the home oven. I got started with that about 12 years ago, playing with my children who kept saying they were bored, so we got some clay and we made little play foods, and they stopped playing with it and I continued on with it. I make buttons. A lot of the pieces that I wear, the wearables, some of the hats that I make, I stick a button on it. The jackets that need closures, I will put polymer clay buttons on them. I picked up this yarn, I saw it in my stash, and I thought it was a very unique yarn. It's a tweed, and I said that would make an interesting hat. Just as a basic crochet stitch, it's a double crochet, which is what I'm working right now. I don't hold the yarn very tightly, but it depends on how, some people crochet very tightly. I am just a very loose, let it flow type of crocheter. Enjoy this so much. I can just do this all day, all night, without eating, sleeping, working. Just love it. Just so many different things that you can make with fiber. This is a very relaxing art form. It's very therapeutic. It just takes away a lot of stress. To see something come from a skein of yarn into a wearable project, a piece of wearable art, it's amazing. Just to take thread and turn it into work. It is just amazing to me.
Lots of fun things to do in the DMV. Let's check them out.
Second City returns to Woolly Mammoth Theater with She the People. It's 2 hours of fearless sketch comedy from an all-female, all-star team. Check them out December 3rd through January 6th. Something else to check out, the Hopi Festival at the National Museum of the American Indian. That's on November 18th. The Hopi tribe is a sovereign nation in northeast Arizona. And on November 29th, WHUT presents a free screening of Rumble, the Indians Who Rocked the World. The film chronicles the Native American influence in popular music. This despite attempts to ban, censor, and erase Indian culture. Stay tuned to WHUT for more details.
Eaton even has its own radio station. And speaking of music, some may be small, but they are a mighty force in the world of gospel music.
Children of the Gospel was started back in the mid-90s, early 90s to mid-90s by Eric Terrain, who used to work for Washington Performing Arts. And he wanted to do something that would embody the entire community. There was a lack of children's choirs that were really out on the forefront, and he wanted to bring attention to that. Come, let us adore him. They have to be able to sing, but that little bit extra that we're looking for as a member of COTG, not just to sustain the note, but to be able to add something, a different texture to their voice, or to be able to give another level of interpretation that says their COTG quality. We would hopefully look at it like a mini conservatory that deals with gospel music in itself, so that they're getting a well-rounded exposure to the history of gospel, how we sing gospel, the importance of keeping it alive as an American art form, not just in the African American community, but the communities abroad, so that everybody feels a level of inclusion. Our sound you won't hear from any other gospel group, whether it's a children's gospel ensemble or it's an adult ensemble. We're just unique in our presentation.
The performances are amazing because I get to, express my emotions while singing to the audience, and they can listen and hear and feel what I'm saying and singing.
We have performed with a plethora of notable gospel artists, Ayanna Crowley and Anthony Brown and Clark Sisters and Mary, and there are just so many that I can't think of all the names, but there are just countless artists out there, well known and those who are up and coming.
It's so fun being in here, just the joyfulness of when we're singing, and you could hear the lively music.
We have been afforded great opportunities to be on the Today Show, at the White House. I can't even count how many times, under the President Barack Obama, and with Michelle Obama, and the Vice President's home, and just a plethora of opportunities to share the stage and share the environment with Patti LaBelle and Ledisi, and just artists galore.
A lot of people think that a choir is just singing, but I know from a social point of view, I get a whole new family. I know I can come to this choir after a long day at school, and I'll be able to relax. I'll be able to see people that I don't really get to see that often. Not only that, but from a learning aspect, I get to learn a lot more that I wouldn't really learn in school. For example, I learned that a Picardy third is a song that's in a minor key the whole time and the last note is major. And I don't really get the chance to learn stuff like that in school.
This is not a program that's just about the opportunities we give them, but it's about building their confidence, their character, their love for music in general, making them well-rounded citizens. We have quite a few great alumni who have gone on Solomon Howard, who is now singing with the Washington National Opera, the Metropolitan Opera in New York, and a plethora of other opera companies throughout the world. We have some people who are heavily into gospel as recording artists. We have students who are currently engaged in college programs that are studying classical music or jazz or gospel that have come through Children of the Gospel. So we're hoping to continue to develop a whole lot more singers of that magnitude.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is our song, with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air.
Good, very good.
And that's our show for today. I'm going to keep sitting here and chilling to some music. I'm Anqoinette Crosby, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, and always remember to follow your art. Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Emmanuel.
This program was produced by WHUT, Howard University Television, and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.